Evaluating the performance of those we lead lets them know how far they've come.
In summary, Hal, I'm really pleased with your overall performance this past year.
Thanks.
Doing so effectively not only reinforces their success and gives them incentive to continue, but also encourages them to reach for higher goals.
Hey, Frank. Yeah, I was just going over these operations figures, and I think I've got a way to cut costs by at least 8%.
Laura Jenkins is gathering her notes for her own annual performance review discussion. She reports to Greg Sutton, who will be summarizing the performance discussions he has had with Laura throughout the year. In reviewing Laura's performance with her, Greg will follow 5 critical steps. Establish the purpose of reviewing performance and outline the discussion. Review performance data against each performance expectation. Discuss causes of problems and reasons for success. Agree on action to be taken and discuss ideas for development. Summarize the discussion and express confidence in the employee's ability to succeed. In this discussion, Greg will provide a clear and accurate summary of Laura's performance.
For a meeting?
Sure am. Have a seat, Laura, while I pull out my notes. You know, when we agreed on your performance expectations this year, we talked about how important it is to know what's expected. This review is just as important, because it lets you know how well you've met those expectations.
Well, I've tried.
I know you have. You've worked very hard, and I'm interested in hearing more about it.
Well, I did make some notes like you suggested.
Good. As we go over the performance areas, I hope you'll share them. I'd appreciate any examples you have that'll help me understand things from your point of view. We'll also go over any specific actions we might take to support your work in the future. How does that sound?
Great.
Why don't we start with interdepartmental cooperation? That was one of our priorities this year. Let's see. We agreed that, for one thing, you'd send notes thanking people from other departments whenever they went out of their way to help us out.
Right.
How do you think that worked out?
Not bad. In fact, a couple of people even told me they liked having a copy sent to their boss. I guess it helped them win a few points. All in all, I'd say it worked out pretty well.
That's good to hear. I think you did a very good job in this area, too.
Thanks.
I like the way you personalized each note. It keeps people from feeling they're getting a form letter.
Yeah, I think that does make a difference.
I know I mentioned to you once or twice how effective it was sending these notes out so quickly. Like this one, to Don, thanking him for staying over and fixing the printer. Looks like it went out the very next day.
Well, he really was a big help.
Things like personalization and promptness have helped improve our image quite a bit. Something else we set expectations for in the same area was response time. We agreed that you'd handle all requests for information within 24 hours. How do you feel about that one?
Well, that wasn't as easy as I thought it would be. I know there were those 2 complaints we talked about.
Right. The one from Bob about the overdue budget report, and the one from accounting about those chargeback errors. I remember we agreed that the original problems in both cases weren't your fault, but that you might have gotten back with them sooner. At least to let them know that you were looking into it.
Yeah, I know. And I've been trying to do that since we talked. Well, just the other day I called John Austin to warn him about a delay in a report that he wanted. He did seem to appreciate at least knowing what was going on.
I'm glad to hear that. I'm sure it prevented a possible problem. The 2 complaints were earlier in the year, and since then, as you say, you have been getting back to people and keeping them posted.
Yeah, it seems to be working out.
On top of that, you've had some very positive comments from the other departments. I remember Helen telling me that you saved her life with that 1-hour turnaround.
Well, I don't know about saving her life, but I guess I did help her out a lot with that.
No question about it. Let's move on to scheduling. We agreed that this was an important area since we were adding some new people to the department. The expectation we discussed was no more than 1 scheduling error per quarter, right? have 8 major scheduling conflicts recorded for the year.
Yeah, I know. But it was really hard putting it all together.
I'm sure it must have seemed overwhelming at first. Jack's system is different from the way you've always handled Susan's projects.
You're not kidding. I just can't seem to keep track of everyone's schedule all at the same time.
How did that scheduling chart we talked about work out?
Well, actually, I never got around to filling it out. It just seemed too complicated.
Then maybe we need to come up with a better system. Because this area is important to the whole department. A missed appointment can throw everybody off. Like last month, when Jack had a conflict for that budget meeting. It took us an extra week to get the information we needed.
I know, and believe me, I feel bad about it. But I was just so busy. When he asked me to schedule the staff reviews, I forgot about the budget meeting, and they ended up being on the same day.
It gets hectic around here, that's for sure. That's why scheduling's so important. So I think it's an area where there's room for improvement.
Well, much as I hate to admit it, I guess I'd have to agree with that.
Why don't we consider it again at our next meeting? And you've met all the report deadlines.
Really? I guess I wasn't keeping track. I mean, I sure tried, but I had no idea.
I thought you'd be pleased to know that. I know you were a little concerned when we initially agreed on this one.
Yeah. It just goes to show you never know what you can do till you'll try.
Clearly, you've done a very good job in that area. Have we covered all the expectations on the list?
I think so.
Then let's look at some of the key factors in your performance, related to both the problems and the successes. You have some definite strengths, and I think you can use them in working out the problems.
I'm not sure I follow you.
Well, for instance, I think you were able to meet several of the expectations because of your good interpersonal skills. That's definitely one of your strengths. You have excellent rapport with people from other departments, and that's done a lot for our image.
Thanks.
So what I'm saying is, I think you might be able to use those interpersonal skills to help resolve problems related to some scheduling conflicts.
How do you mean?
Let's see. Take the time you arranged for Doug to get in to see Jack, then discovered that Jack was out of town. How do you think you could have handled it with Doug when you realized the mistake?
Just explain it. That's what I did.
Is there anything you could have done to show Doug you understood his situation?
Like saying, I know this must be messing up your scheduling.
Exactly.
I see what you mean. Yeah, it's less of a brush off that way.
Good. I agree. Now, you mentioned that the scheduling chart seems complicated. It sounds like it's a lot more complex than it needs to be.
You're not kidding.
Well, let's talk about that some more. I'd like to agree on some specific steps to help you out. How do you think that chart might be simplified?
Well, what I'd really like to do is find some kind of program for my computer that would help.
That's a good idea. Have you looked into any?
Not really. The ads are all sort of vague.
Karen might be able to steer you in the right direction. I know she's tried a few of them.
Okay, maybe she can recommend one.
Is there anything else getting in the way of improvement in the scheduling area?
I don't think so. I just need to get it under control.
Well, then let's agree that you look into programs for your computer to make the scheduling less complicated. And you'll plan to make a decision on one within, let's say 2 weeks.
Okay, I'll talk with Karen today.
There's something else I think might help. What if we work together on a large scheduling project, like the new billing system? It would be an opportunity for you to learn some other approaches.
All right.
There's a meeting on the 20th to plan the first phase. Think you could make it?
I'd like to. Can I get back to you on that?
Sure. Then I'll give you the information you'll need. Okay. Well, we've covered all the performance expectations. You've exceeded expectations in interdepartmental cooperation and generating reports. You've met the communications objectives, and the area you need to work on is project scheduling.
Right.
You know, overall, your performance has been good. I'm pleased, and I hope you are too.
I am, but I'll feel better when I get a handle on the scheduling.
Well, I think the things you'll be doing in that area, like getting a program for your computer and working with me on the new billing system, are moves in the right direction. I'm looking forward to another good year.
So am I.
And I guess that wraps it up. Let me know if there's anything I can do to help you.
Thanks, Greg. I will.
And I'll be sure to get you a copy of it.
Greg handled the discussion well because he was able to involve Laura in her own review. To keep the discussion on track, he followed these critical steps. Establish the purpose of reviewing performance and outline the discussion.
You know, when we agreed on your performance expectations this year, we talked about how important it is to know what's expected. This review is just as important because it lets you know how well you've met those expectations.
Review performance data against each performance expectation.
Let's move on to scheduling. We agreed that this was an important area since we were adding some new people to the department. The expectation we discussed was no more than one scheduling error per quarter, right?
Uh-huh.
I have 8 major scheduling conflicts recorded for the year.
Discuss causes of problems and reasons for success.
Then let's look at some of the key factors in your performance, related to both the problems and the successes. You have some definite strengths, and I think you can use them in working out the problems.
Agree on action to be taken and discuss ideas for development.
Well, let's talk about that some more. I'd like to agree on some specific steps to help you out. How do you think that chart might be simplified?
Summarize the discussion and express confidence in the employee's ability to succeed.
Well, we've covered all the performance expectations. You've exceeded expectations in interdepartmental cooperation and generating reports. You've met the communications objectives, and the area you need to work on is project scheduling.
Right.
You know, overall, your performance has been good. I'm pleased, and I hope you are too.
During a typical performance review with an employee, the supervisor who plans thoroughly and follows the critical steps is guaranteed a smooth discussion and a successful outcome. Right? Wrong. There's no such thing as a typical performance review, and certainly no guarantees. No matter how thoroughly prepared you may be, each review situation is as different as the individuals whose performances are being reviewed. The performance review you're about to see will confirm this. Tony Barrows works in the mailroom. He reports to Diane Wilton. As Diane begins the discussion by establishing the purpose of reviewing Tony's performance, she notices that he appears to be apathetic.
It's over with.
Hey, I hear you hit the winning run for the softball team last night. That's great. Just to make sure we're on the same wavelength, Tony, let me start by saying why we're getting together for this performance review. I'm interested in helping you and our group work as effectively as possible. And the review process is a good way to do that. In this meeting, we'll be going over your past performance on the job and do some planning for your future development.
If you were Diane, what would you say? Let's see how Diane handles the situation.
How do you feel about what we'll be doing here?
Well, it's gotta be done, so let's hear the verdict.
It's true the review process is required. And of course, I've noted some observations based on performance data. I don't see it as issuing a verdict, though. I see it as a chance for both of us to talk about the data and put it to use in helping you develop in your job.
You mean like show me how to work on some different things?
That's certainly something we might talk about. I'm sure you can see for us to discuss it, your input's really important. First, how about telling me what concerns you have about the review process?
I'll tell you what.
By asking open-ended questions and reinforcing Tony's responses, Diane is setting the tone of the meeting at a relaxed level. At the same time, she's communicating her intention to consider Tony's point of view, and she's making it clear that his participation in the discussion will be of value to both of them. As a result, she's able to overcome Tony's initial apathy. Later, Diane faces another snag when Tony disagrees with a rating.
Wait a minute, Diane, you're giving me a raw deal.
Are you saying you think your rating should be higher?
Yeah, I think I deserve extra credit for getting even close to the expectation.
What would you say? Here's how Diane handles Tony's disagreement with the rating.
I'm sure you have a reason for feeling this way. Tell me more about it.
Well, you gotta remember that postage meter's a lemon. I never know when it's gonna jam up, and I gotta take it apart.
I'm aware of that, Tony. In fact, we talked about it when we agreed on the expectation, remember? It's one of the things we took into consideration.
Yeah, I guess we did. But I still think you're coming down hard.
Let's talk about the data that helped to determine the rating. Maybe we can figure out what else besides the jam-ups are holding you up. I'd be interested in your ideas on it.
Diane checked for understanding and asked for Tony's ideas. Their discussion will now lead to a plan for improvement.
For instance?
Another difficult situation arises as Tony appears to be impatient about a promotion.
That shows real initiative.
I'm glad you noticed. Hope that's gonna count toward a promotion.
Well, naturally, all the factors related to performance have some bearing on promotions.
So I think it's time. When do I move up?
What would you say? Let's see how Diane responds to Tony's impatience about a promotion.
I know you're looking forward to a promotion, Tony. You've got a lot of experience and you want to advance in your job.
You can say that again.
Let's review the promotion process, and we'll talk about what needs to happen to move you toward your goal.
Diane provides information on the promotion process. Then she and Tony will agree on the action to be taken. One more difficult situation occurs when Tony refers to another employee's performance rating.
I don't think I can go along with that. Hey, come on. I happen to know that Bill got a higher rating, and he doesn't do half as much work as I do.
What would you say? Let's see how Diane handles the situation.
I'm sorry, Tony, I just don't think it's fair to discuss other people's performance. I'd like to focus on your performance in this discussion. Let's talk some more about your performance against the expectation.
I still think I work harder than he does.
I agree that you work hard, Tony. Let's talk about how that affected your error rate this year.
During any performance review, difficult situations like those you've just seen and others can and do occur. Your use of the key principles and other interaction skills can make the difference between a smooth, productive discussion and one that can easily get off track.